Let me tell you something I've noticed about entrepreneurs over the years. When it comes to decision making, entrepreneurs do really well when they're not operating from a position of fear. When you're operating from a position of security, when you feel secure, you tend to make better, far-sighted decisions. You tend to operate in a way that increases your overall quality of life as you work. You tend to do fewer things, I should say, that cause you to spin out and create stress for yourself, going after your goals in ways that cause you to be trapped. And it's interesting that one of the causes of procrastination, that difficulty to get started, it's not the only one by any means, but one of the causes of procrastination, especially for entrepreneurs, is fear. It's the fear that your plans may not actually work out the way you hoped, or that there may be more obstacles than what you're hoping for if you start. And so as long as you just kind of edge around your ideas but don't dive in, you can avoid that fear. But that's not a good place to be operating from. You want to be operating from a position of security, which is much easier to do when you are practicing the art of discovery and optionality. So I want to tell you what I mean by discovery and optionality. Discovery is charting new territory. It's taking steps to see what will work and what won't. And if you do that well, by pairing it with optionality, the art of building optionality into the decisions that you make, into your strategy and approach to business and to life in general, what happens is your sense of security goes up and your anxiety goes down. Why? Because optionality, when I say optionality, I'm talking about practicing the art of discovery in a way that doesn't trap you when you inevitably encounter a dead end. It's when you micro-step your way into seeing what's going to work, the art of discovery, but you micro-step instead of betting it all in a way that puts you in a position where everything has to work out exactly as you saw each of the 25 steps between where you are and where you want to be. Everything has to go just right. That's setting yourself up for fear. It's also setting yourself up for a failure, because intuitively some part of you knows that that's not a wise way to approach life, because there are so many random factors, so many things outside of our control. Rarely do people achieve success exactly the way they anticipated they would at the beginning of their journey. And people achieve success a lot so long as you keep taking action and you keep playing the game. But in order to play the game long enough, you need to practice the art of discovery with optionality, meaning you practice the art of business in a way that incorporates optionality so that when you do encounter those inevitable dead ends, you're not trapped. You've set yourself up to where that was a test to see what would happen. It was a trap. And these other three options that are still open, we're going to test one of those next, but we're going to still micro-step our way into that. And we're going to actually make choices that to an outside observer may seem like the less direct route to what you want. And yet when you're talking about rapidly collapsing time, as one of my coaches, Nick Peterson, talks about, this idea of determining what you want, creating a plan to go after it, but then collapsing the time. So you have like an initial plan. This is like plan B, which probably you're not going to have to go that slow plan B, methodical way of achieving your ultimate outcome, because we're counting on plan A, these strategies that we're using to collapse time. But we're approaching those strategies for collapsing time in ways that retain your optionality, knowing that any of them are high risk and high reward type bets that may or may not play out, but you don't trap yourself. So you say, yeah, I could eventually, reach financial independence or hit $1 billion in sales for our company. And here's the slow, methodical way that we could achieve that. And we've got the processes in place to go after that. But we're intending to hit that goal much faster. And that's one of the things that I have a great time doing with the entrepreneurs that work with me one-on-one and those who join my groups, is that we're looking for those rare scenarios where we can collapse time so that we can accelerate the speed at which you achieve some amazingly big goals by micro-stepping to discover what's going to actually work, what's going to have that high asymmetry to the upside opportunity for you to launch forward towards your goal. But by only having a small cost to rolling the dice on that option. And so by always rolling the dice in a way that has just a very small cost to you, you've retained your optionality because you still have most of your resources, whether that's time or money, manpower, relationships. You're not burning them and betting them all on one optionality, one plan A strategy for collapsing time, but you're approaching it with optionality. So discovery practiced with the art of optionality reduces fear, which then causes you to be more excited and interested in getting to work with far less procrastination, because you're not afraid that plans might not unfold as you had hoped. You're not afraid of detours because you know those are an inevitable part of truly achieving success, that there's going to be lots of winding and choosing to go a different direction when new information comes in, and then discovering something that allows you to accelerate your goals. That's all part of entrepreneurship. And by embracing that and approaching it intelligently with this approach where you say, I can on purpose drive after my goals with more optionality, I can actually practice discovery faster by incorporating optionality. Fear goes down and speed goes up. So here's your challenge for this week. I want you to ask yourself, I want you to be honest with yourself, really. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Which tasks, which goals, which outcomes this year or 5 years out? What am I afraid of? And be honest, because this isn't the kind of fear where you're trembling, shaking in your boots kind of fear, but sometimes it's the kind of thing where it kind of nags at you. It's a very subtle feeling, a very subtle belief that I'm trying to convince myself that I can succeed at this, but I kind of have this fear that I won't. And if you get rid of that by acknowledging that your goal, if it's a realistic, positive goal that you believe a human can achieve, and you know that you are going to go after it methodically, but you're also going to be practicing these micro-stepping strategies to get there faster, it becomes inevitable that as long as you are playing the game in a way that allows you to keep playing the game, you're going to succeed. And so by adopting that mindset, it's almost like what Mark Joyner back in the day, he called it the invincibility mindset, which is, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you decide that you're going to climb to the top of that mountain and you adopt this invincible mindset of, I will succeed because I don't care how many times I have to try before I eventually succeed, then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where your confidence is based on something real, because you know you'll get up and try again and try again. And each time you learn something, it just becomes more power for you to achieve your ultimate goal. And so what I'm asking you to do is become a little bit more invincible by practicing the art of discovery, which is an intricate part of entrepreneurship. You're charting new territory, you're carving a new path that hasn't been laid down for you, but practicing it with optionality so that your confidence goes up, fear goes down, and you make better decisions. So identify that subtle fear, name it for what it is, and then ask yourself, how can I bring more optionality into how I approach this so that I have that invincible mindset to bring with me into the journey? Talk to you again next week.